I guess I got into like the hardcore breakbeat rave scene in the UK, and just followed it through basically. I mean, around about 1993, 94, it started to become, I guess, what was then jungle, and yeah, I just followed it through and to right where we are today. So I guess I've been in it since the beginning. I was around about 14, 15 years old, and I started to produce with early stuff like Atari ST programs. Just trying to think of the names. Like Noise Tracker tracks, and very early versions of Cubase. So yeah, I kind of got the bug early on, and just kept producing and kept just my love of the music, and I just wanted to do something with it. Around about 1997, me and my friend who was producing as Future Link, we started our own little studio, put together some stuff, and as I've probably said a million times, we got hit by a virus and it wiped all the tracks out. So around about 1999, I decided to start on my own again, and I put together a 6-track demo and sent it out to New Directions, as they were a new label who I felt were in line with what I was doing as well, and they picked up straight away and signed me up. It wasn't immediately, but since we had a lot of tracks signed to the label, they were, straight away they were thinking about, long-term ideas of putting an album together. So yeah, I guess it was like the natural step, like, later on. It was always something I wanted to do, mainly to have complete control over stuff that I wanted to put out, and some of my friends and artists in the scene that I was playing their tunes at the time, so it just seemed like the right thing to do. I feel it kind of started as a real kind of prototype for anything just atmospheric and drum and bass, like with breakbeats and atmospheres really, and right through till I guess around what I'd class as like the mid years of the label, we really felt that the kind of techno influence on the atmospheric side was missing, and especially when labels like 720 changed direction, and I guess Subtitles, Audio Blueprint, labels like that were not representing the music we loved at the time. So for us, it was like to fill in the void, to take it to. It was mainly a problem because there was no other labels doing what we were doing, and unfortunately we were falling into a very, very small niche. Just like we were out there on our own. There was no other labels until like a few years later, and distribution was a problem because it was kind of like, to them, where do we fit in the drum and bass scene? So we just kind of struggled for a bit, and in the end, I think, well, one of the major reasons why I decided to close the label was because of distribution problems and being told what we cannot and what we can't put out. So I felt it had come to a natural end anyway, because for me and my music, I was exploring new boundaries and taking my music in a different direction. So the closing of the label kind of happened at the right time, so to speak. I mean, it's easy to get annoyed about a situation when you have no real control, but when you look at it from a business point of view, that's purely what it is. It's a business decision made by distribution companies who feel that if they cannot make money out of what they are selling and it's going to be a loss to them, then it's a big risk. So eventually, if this doesn't pan out, then they feel that they can't distribute your product anymore. And when you look at it from a business point of view, it makes good sense. So I mean, it's very easy to point fingers and get annoyed at people, but you know, you have to kind of look outside the box and realize that, you know, there's bigger things than just your label. For me, the whole digital aspect of things is, without wanting to sort of sound demeaning to people who are doing it, it seems like it cheapens the music to me, because there's no physical product. There's nothing to hold in your hands. There's no end product for an artist. I mean, we did a few stuff like this during the end of the label. We put out a couple of digital compilations, and this was mainly just to try and introduce new artists that we knew the distributor would not let us put out on vinyl. I mean, the music was definitely good enough to be on vinyl, but at the same time, you know, pushing that kind of sound with new artists on vinyl is a very hard thing to do in this day and age. So yeah, going back to the digital thing, it's an easy outlet for people to get their music out there. But for me, I'm kind of old school, and I like the aspect of having something physical, and I felt that it would cheapen the legacy of the label to just purely be digital. So that was my decision to just like stop. And I mean, we'd put 10 good years in, and we'd I think we managed 32 pieces of vinyl, including the sub-labels, and 6 or 7 CDs as well. So I mean, we did pretty good in that time, I think. Not really. I mean, if I'm honest, I never saw a penny back from the distributors for any of the vinyl we put out. Now, whether that was them cooking figures or whether it was actually down to poor sales, we'll just have to take their word on it, because under a pressing and distribution deal, you kind of are trusting that the distributor is being upfront and honest with you. So yeah, we really didn't see any money out of it, but you know, at the end of the day, we weren't in it for the money. It was just for the love of the music and to push what we thought was good music to our fan base. It's getting like that, or licensing your music to bigger compilations or big record labels, or even adverts and film. I mean, that's the way artists can make their money these days, and obviously gigs. Yeah, it's for that. I mean, I think in the UK there's a lot of what I would call kind of sort of jingle drum and bass on adverts, but I feel it's kind of made in-house by these people, or they've just picked up a sample CD and put something together. But there has been recently like a lot of artists getting work elsewhere and stuff like that, and I do think that is the way forward though for revenue for artists anyway. I feel I've always thought that drum and bass moves in cycles, like since day one. I mean, you've gone through everything from like the intelligent era to like the ragga kind of jump up, then you had like the darker, then the tech step, and then you came right through to what people were calling like the clown step, the you know, the ravey jump up stuff. And I just feel like the cycle's beginning again now. I think people have had enough of that, and the focus is now on actually writing music with groove, and people want something. I feel people want something deeper than what has been given to them over the last however many years. I mean, not to mention any names, but when Pendulum came through and broke through in a big way, they created such a big stir that there was a huge amount of clones of artists trying to emulate that sound because they thought they could cash in, and that became like the forefront of drum and bass, and that's what I was saying to people at the time. They said, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I write drum and bass. I'm a drum and bass DJ." "Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard drum and bass." And they'll be like, "Yeah, Pendulum." And it's like, not quite. That's not not what I do. I mean, no diss to Pendulum though, because they came up with their own sound and they blew up, and fair play to them, because it's not their fault that everyone else tried to copy them and flooded the scene with a lot of crap. Fortunately, I think we're in a good position at the moment. I mean, the fact that instrumental and D-Bridge are really kind of blowing up, and they are at the forefront of drum and bass, and not just like the autonomic sound at the moment, and they're really kind of going places, and it can only help like artists like myself and Consequence and Vaccine, Abstract Elements, etc., people who are involved. And going back to your original question, I think it all started when instrumental suddenly came back on the scene with the track Comanche.
Okay, sure.
I remember Al was telling me that he passed it out to Doc Scott and Marcus Intellects, and at the time nothing sounded like it. It was like a very kind of heavy drums and big hitting snares and Reese's everywhere, and this track came out of nowhere and really did kind of open people's eyes to what could be done in drum and bass. And I think just with their further experiments on Dark Estral with like tracks like Rogue, Sakura, Pacific Heights, etc., that was kind of like the beginning of what I would call like the autonomic sound. But it's funny though, because I think a lot of people get it mixed up, because when we say autonomic sound, it doesn't just mean 170 BPM. It's just all about our crew experimenting and just doing whatever. It's interesting that a lot of people are taking it on board, and it is becoming as wide appeal as possible, because I mean we, especially myself and instrumental, both feel that what we do is we're just writing electronic music at 170 BPM. We're not even classing it as drum and bass. It just happens to be at 170 BPM, but it's electronic music. So if other people can take that kind of template and ideas and apply it to their music, then that's great. I think it's got a great future for just electronic music in general. This is ASC for Nike FM.